Some time after my arrival, a few merchants, my very particular friends, agreed on a voyage, and they never ceased importuning me till I consented to go with them. For some time we had pleasant weather. We sailed many days without seeing land, but having a perfect ray, reliance on our captain, we were without uneasiness. At length the ship was forced along by a strong current. The moment the captain perceived it, he exclaimed, "We are all lost." He immediately ordered all the sails to be set a contrary way, but in vain. The ropes broke to pieces. The ship, in spite of our utmost efforts, continued to be forced on by the current, till we came to the foot of a mountain where she ran ashore, and was presently beat plus Onesis. Lost of the crew perished. The captain, to seamen, and myself only escaped, and all but me were much bruised. The captain told us TBT all hope of escape from that place was vain, as the current set in so strongly to the shore that no vessel could possibly sail against it. This does erse of his afflicted us exceedingly, and indeed, what we and 3 saw strongly confirmed it. The whole shore was covered with wrecks of vessels, and with the bones of men who had evidently perished by asterisk E. The incredible quantity of riches with which the strand was covered only served to aggravate our sorrows. Whether it was from this melancholy prospect or from the bruises they had received, I know not. But the next day the 2 sailors died, and the day following the captain also expired, so that I was left alone in this terrible situation. But I had been too much used to misfortunes to despair. One began, therefore, to survey the shore, and to cast about in my mind for a possibility of relief. On examining the mountain, I soon found that all hope of climbing it was in vain, for it was not only stupendously high, but in many parts absolutely perpendicular. The account of the curlew to rent setting in everywhere to the shore, I found also to be true. I had almost given up every hope when I covered a rivulet of fresh water, which, instead of running into the sea, penetrated the bottom of the mountain. To this place I with much labor brought pieces of the wreck, and formed a large and strong float. Having secured this properly, I went in search of provisions. I found shell, to fish in great abundance. I conveyed a large quantity of these on board my float, resolving to trust myself on it, and take the chance whither the current might convey me. Before I embarked, I collected great quantities of diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and ambergris. These I formed into bales and fastened strongly on board my vessel, and cutting the cable, committed myself to fortune. The stream conveyed me into a hollow passage under the mountain, which was entirely dark. I sailed many days in this situation, husbanding my shellfish with great care. My food was at last exhausted. I grew faint, and insensibly fell into a deep sleep. How long it continued I know not, but when I awoke, I found my float drawn on shore, and myself surrounded by a great number of grows. I rose and saluted them. They spoke to me, but I could not understand them. Yet I was so transported with joy that I repeated aloud in Arabic, "Call upon the Almighty, and he will help thee. Thou needest not perplex thyself in trouble, for God can change thy bad fortune into good." Happily one of the negroes understood Arabic, From him I learned that my float having been discovered in the river, they had drawn it on shore. But finding me fast less than steep, they had waited till I awoke. He then requested that one would tell them by what accident I came into such a situation. I related my story, which the black in turn interpreted to them. When I had finished, they desired I would suffer them to conduct me to the king, that I might relate SC extraordinary an adventure to him myself. I cheerfully consented, on which they furnished me with a horse, and while some of them attended me, others contrived to convey my float and cargo after me. I was very favorably received by the king, and thankfully accepted his invitation of reposing some time in his court to recover from my fatigue. During this time, I made a pilgrimage to the place where Adam was confined after his banish, to men from paradise. The island was called Serendib. It is exceedingly pleased, to aunt and fertile. The people were hospitable, and so just that lawsuits are unknown among them. The magnifi, sense of the palace and the splendor of their prince, when he appears in public, are truly admirable. On this ocker, the king has a throne fixed on the back of an elephant. Before him an officer carries a golden lance in his hand, and behind the throne there is another who supports a column of gold. The guard amount to 1,000 men, all clad in silk and cloth of gold. While the king is on his march, the officer who carries the lance cries out, "Ocker, you to Shanali. Behold the great monarch, the potent and redoubtable Sultan of the Indies, whose palace is covered with 100,000 rubies, and who possesses 20,000 crowns, enriched with diamonds. Behold the crowned monarch, greater than the greatest of princes." After which the officer who is behind cries out, "This monarch, so great, so powerful, must die, must die, must die." The officer who is before replies, "Praise be to him who liveth forever." After I had continued some time in the capital, I read, to quested the king's permission to return to our own country, which he immediately granted. In the most obliging and most honorable manner, he forced me to accept a very rich present, and at the same time entrusted to my care one of immense value, which he directed me to present with a letter asterisk in his name to our sovereign, the Caliph Harun or Rashid. Our voyage was short and pleasant. I had the honor to deliver the letter and present of the king of Serendib to the commander of the faithful, after which I retired to my own dwelling, rejoicing with my friends to whom and to the poor I was bountiful, and resolving to pass the rest of my days among them. Sinbad presented the porter as before with 100 sequins, and desired him to attend the day following to hear an account of his last voyage.